Hello, Centerpoint. I'm Pastor Steve, and it's great to be with you today as we continue our study and look at what we know as Holy Week. Over the last couple days, we've taken a look at the triumphal entry of Jesus into Jerusalem, and then we've also taken a look at what was known as Holy Monday with Pastor Britt. And as he overturned the tables of the money changers and he cursed the fig tree. And then we pick up the story today as he begins teaching in the temple courts and the crowds of people gathered around him. You can find this account in any of the four Gospels, whether that be in Matthew chapter 21, Mark chapter 11, Luke chapter 20, or John 12. This account is in all four of the Gospels, and it's this last week of Christ as we lead up to Easter Sunday as we know it today. As Jesus is teaching the people, it's not just the crowd that is there, it's the religious leaders of the time. It's the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law. And while they are there listening to him, they're also there because they want to ask him questions. But not questions because they want to learn something. They want to ask him questions so that they can trap him, that they can cause problems, that they can find a reason to take him prisoner. And so they ask him, by whose authority do you do these things? They want to know, should we pay taxes to Caesar? And they even throw out a question from the Sadducees asking about 7 brothers, and when one brother was married and his wife died, Moses had taught them that it became the responsibility of his brother to marry his wife and to give her children so that he would be responsible for raising them and she would have a son for an inheritance. But what I find amazing in that is that the Sadducees didn't even believe in the resurrection. Their question purely was just to try to trap him in some way. But Jesus knew their plan. And so instead of just answering them directly, sometimes he questioned them back. And then he even began to teach a parable about a man who built a vineyard. And he put a fence around that vineyard. He put a guard tower there. And then he leased the land to others to grow the crops and to bring in the harvest. And when the time came for the harvest to be gathered, he sent his servant to collect his portion. But instead of giving that man his share, those who had leased the land instead beat his servant. So he sent another. And they continued to either beat his servants or to kill them. And finally he sent his son. And when they saw the son approaching, they decided, if we kill him, there will be no heir. And in teaching this parable, the Pharisees knew that he was talking about them. And yet, even in understanding what Jesus was saying in that moment, I wonder, and the question that I come back to is, how did they miss everything else? They knew he was speaking about them in this moment, but they couldn't comprehend what he was saying in all of his other teachings. And instead, they became angry. And again, they wanted to trap him and to capture him, but they feared the crowd. So the question becomes, why did they miss it? Why could they hear him but not understand? And it takes me back to something that I remember as my wife and I were raising our kids. And when our kids would get in a disagreement and they'd be arguing about something and there would be tension in the house, something my wife said that stuck with us for the rest of our parenthood was asking our kids, are you trying to prove or are you trying to improve? See, I believe that the religious leaders and the teachers of the law weren't interested in trying to improve their understanding of what they knew in God's Word, but instead they were trying to prove what they already knew was right and use it as a weapon. And so I ask you, when you're looking at God's Word or you're trying to grow in your relationship with Christ and understand Him more, do you approach it in a way where you're trying to prove what you already know? Or do you come at it with an open mind, trying to improve your understanding of God's Word and His desire for you and the relationship that He wants to have with you? I hope that every one of us can begin to examine God's Word and the relationships that we have with His people in a way that we're trying to improve our understanding and improve our wisdom and knowledge in Him. Church, God bless you, and I look forward to seeing you this Easter Sunday.